Hi guys, it's Oli from Rad Season. I'm excited to be joined today by VP and General Manager of Tour, Courtney Gresik. Courtney, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
No
here.
No worries. Whereabouts are you at the moment, Courtney?
Yeah, just every day is a little bit different. So just navigating, what 6 or 7 months of the pandemic and everything that's going on in the world. But yeah, we're just busy finally getting to a place of planning again, which is exciting. Okay. And just trying to shape kind of what the future and new world of events looks like.
Yeah, I mean, and so with everything, with all the changes going on, I mean, has that been like evolving? Is it sort of weekly or daily, like as things change? And
yeah, it's been interesting. I think it's hard to believe, but we left our February winter event, so it was our Tour Copper Mountain event, in February, and it was like as soon as we got home, and wrapped up that event, everything kind of hit the fan, with COVID and everything. So, March and April and May were kind of, the phases of shock, and denial to a certain extent. We were having to make considerations for our summer event, which was scheduled in May. And then, then we postponed it. And then we were, finally got to a level of acceptance of what was going on in the world. So things were moving a little bit slower at that time with just the uncertainty. I mean, it was absolutely impossible to plan at that point. So once we got to a plan of kind of, this is what it is right now, like, let's figure out how to get our fans engaged and, connected with the athletes so that, the fact that our event, is postponed to next year isn't lost. And so, we kicked off some digital initiatives with Tour Live, as an extension of, our broadcast desk show that we do at the event itself. And that's been a really great way for us, much like you're doing, to open up conversations, with our fans and the athletes, and just to explore different topics and give updates on even what's going on in all of our worlds and how things are progressing to get back to having events again.
That's cool. And was that bringing athletes onto the show then, and then sort of getting their perspective? And
yeah, so it started out, the initial phases were very much just having conversations like with athletes at their homes and what they were doing during COVID, with having to be at home. We had them skating in their backyards and like showing off their setups, and so it was a lot of that. And then, we've just been exploring other topics just with competition, all women show, we did a Legacy of Skate show, which was awesome. So, it's just been a really great way to, keep everybody engaged and even let, all the fans like type in questions and, have them answered. And I mean, Chris Cote was moderating with Todd Richards. So that was really a cool perspective to have. So yeah, I mean, that's been like the one thing that we've been working on. And then we've just been, reaching out to our partners too, and working with them to help, kind of amplify their brands during this time. So just doing unique activations with them. Like the Tech Deck, fingerboard contest that we did, we launched that. It was like a huge success that just garnered so much engagement from everybody that was staying at home and wanted something to do. So, and we're working on something with TikTok that's kind of has an unboxing theme to it that'll be rolling out later this month. So there's a lot of things that we've been doing to just, keep our fans engaged. And now we're finally simultaneously like getting to plan, for 2021 events.
Nice. And yeah, I guess I'd love to take it back to how you got into the action sports industry, because your background's in finance, is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So my background, I've been in the industry for coming up on 16 years now. My first job was with TransWorld Media, and I started out as a staff accountant there. By no means like probably what most people expect their first job to be in that industry. But to be honest, it helped me learn a lot about the business, just
Yeah.
from numbers. So I definitely have that different perspective of learning how everything works, through the numbers. And then I eventually became, a business manager there, just overseeing, pretty much all of the financials and forecasting and planning, for all of the brands that were part of that. And yeah, so I had a couple of brief departures in between, one of which was to World Surf League, when they moved headquarters from Australia to Santa Monica. That was awesome because that was kind of, my first large scale exposure to large scale events. And I learned a lot from that because it was very much kind of a startup mentality with, they kind of reimagined World Surf League from ASP.
Yeah.
And so that was a really great experience and set the foundation for me. And, I kind of returned to my family, which was the TransWorld family, which is now currently ASN. And we were presented with this opportunity for Dew Tour. And I think, just my culmination of experience, like, set me up in a really great way to take that on, with our small team. So yeah, I mean, that's really where and how I ended up where I am today.
Nice. And then when you started at Dew Tour, you were looking after partnerships and sponsorship. Is that right?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think because I didn't stay in a very like traditional like accounting or finance role, it was definitely more broad of a role because I wasn't like an actual accountant, within the corporation or umbrella corporation. I was more facilitating that information. So it was a little bit more creative, and I was able to get more involved with, what the actual business was. So everything from events to the magazines and, all the initiatives surrounding that and, the skate and creates of the world and the Imaginarium. So like, I think because I was able to do that, once we got this opportunity for Dew Tour, I kind of raised my hand and was like, you know what, like, I think I'm ready to kind of give partnerships a shot because I'm really interested in getting to shape what that looks like for Dew Tour. And I also think my financial background is beneficial for it because that's an important part of forming a partnership is making sure it's driving value, not only, for the client and for our brand, but makes financial sense. So, that was my, first time doing that. And we were a small team when we took over the business for Dew Tour. So we treated it very much like a startup mentality, starting in 2016, even though Dew Tour had been around since 2004, 2005. We were truly responsible for, reshaping it and making it different than what it used to be. And so I think all of that, added value, to the job that I took on and also to the small team that we had.
Nice. And like looking back at those first couple of years when you started, I mean, is there any kind of, I guess, sort of standout memories or any particular event that, whether it's skate or snow that you look back on and think, okay, that was a really good year or that was a really good event?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember, it was just like, it was so fast when we took over and it was full speed ahead. And I think our first event was Dew Tour Long Beach in 2016 in summer. And I just remember we all showed up on site, and we had been planning and, even creating renderings of like what the event would look like, from an overall event look and feel to the courses. And I just remember we all collectively were standing kind of in front of the entrance as it like had just come together. We weren't open yet. Athletes were just starting to arrive to practice and we were like, wow, like it looks exactly like how we envisioned it, which, you don't always expect it to, right? Like you put best case scenario on paper and then hope you get as close to it as possible and have to be flexible for changes. But so yeah, I think, that year one was definitely memorable in many ways. The Long Beach event was such a huge success and such positive feedback from, the athletes in the endemic industry, which was so important for us. I mean, that's part of why we won the business is, the brands that we have that support us, like TransWorld Skateboarding and Snowboarder, they add authenticity, to a larger scale event like this. And we really wanted to, the endemic brands and core skate and snow brands are so important to us, and we want them to be stoked on our event. So to get that feedback out of the gate was already, like, just in our eyes, a huge success. And, on the flip side, the winter event, brought its challenges with Mother Nature. We had a cancel pipe like that first year.
Yeah.
But, the positive of that was just getting to navigate that experience and things that are out of your control. And it still ended up being a great event and positive feedback. And then from then on, every year has been something new that we've been really proud about. And I have a good memory from every single event that changes every year. So.
Nice. And with some of the major challenges, would you say weather? I mean, that is going to be especially.
Yeah, I think by far that's been the one, the one thing that has been a challenge, and good and bad. So, we're talking about two extremes from, it doesn't snow at all, until we land in Colorado, and then it just starts dumping and it's a blizzard and wind. And that was probably the worst challenge. Whereas, this past February, we also had a lot of snow, but it was a memorable event because there was 3 feet of fresh powder for everybody to ride. And they were super stoked, even though we had, to do contingency plans for weather delays and whatnot. So It's still a great memory on both sides. But yeah, what Mother Nature is by far you just can't control it. So
that's it, right? You just got to go there and see what happens, and hope for the best with that stuff. And now, like, looking at what's happened this year and planning forwards, is it split? Like, strategy wise, are you sort of looking at G-Tour Skate and G-Tour Snow as two separate sort of platforms, so to speak, or sort of like having two separate identities, or how does it work?
Yeah. Well, we try to have each year, with the two, pillar events, we try to have a sort of cohesiveness to the two. And that usually comes across with our, event design. But, they are very different events. And, as of right now, the planning is just heavily focused on, first phase is, thank goodness, is a winter event, because naturally people are, covered up and already wearing masks. So, we're just planning, for each event to look a little bit different than what maybe it used to in terms of social distancing and, finding creative ways to make the event as interactive and fun and engaging as possible as it used to be, but just in new ways. So, they're really not, I wouldn't say we're planning them differently. I think, they'll still have a cohesive look to them that carries over from winter to summer. But yeah, it's more planning as usual, but just with a new layer of, like, COVID precautions.
Okay. And then winter, so is that going to be planned for February again?
It is being planned for February again. Yeah, we're working on announcing the dates. It's a kind of a collective effort with all the other, events that are happening during the winter. We all kind of coordinate. So yeah, we are working on that though.
Nice. And what kind of sort of online or virtual aspects could we expect to be happening with the physical event as well in the lead up? And
for sure. Yeah, I think there's definitely no way around, an expectation that some of the, ancillary type events that take place. So obviously, like, competitions at the core of, what we do. And then we have, what is unique to Tour is all the lifestyle and cultural elements that celebrate those sports. And so I think, the competition will be the competition, we just need to plan for things like the concert that we usually do that, you know, might not be possible to have everybody in one place. It'll look different. So whether that could potentially be a virtual integration,
Mhm.
you know, other things that we bring, you know, with us to do tour, like in winter, like the award shows and things like that, those could potentially be, you know, virtual or digital rollouts of sorts. So we're definitely looking into, you know, all the options because we want to maintain everything that's unique to Do Tour and still include it, but just in the most, you know, responsible way.
That's cool. And would you then also be looking at something similar for Due to Skate, which will be in May? Is that right? Or
Yeah, it would be in May, and fingers crossed, you know, by then the Olympics are still planning on happening, and
Mhm.
yeah, so we're just taking it kind of in a phased approach. We have, you know, for both events, contingency plans and different phases of what, you know, the event might look like pending how COVID, you know, shakes out and how fluid everything is. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're approaching summer the same way. And just with social distancing, I guess, being kind of the phase one reality of what the event's going to look like and what we need to plan for. And then, you know, a phase two is like even more restrictions on that. And then even phase three is like, okay, do we need to consider like a completely digital, you know, event if it
Okay.
comes to that. So, you know, we're hoping that we don't ever get to that phase. But I mean, these are just the things that I think everybody in the event space is thinking about at this point and kind of planning for a worst case scenario. And then the others are much better and easier.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And have you sort of been like talking to other organizers and sort of looking like not just sort of within the action sports industry but outside as well, and sort of seeing, okay, like what's working for people and what isn't?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the positives out of all of this is, you know, what used to be a bit of a competitive environment with all of the events, you know, has become a
Yeah.
much more collaborative and unified environment, which is awesome. I think we all recognize the importance of each other for the survival of action sports focused events. And
Mhm.
we want to make sure that everybody gets through this. So that's why, you know, we're collaborating and talking. And yeah, you know, we've been paying close attention just to everything that's out there, you know, from the start. I mean, I thought like that DJ Cascade concert that was at the Grand Canyon was like a really visual and cool thing to watch in the beginning, and bringing people together to just be sitting there and not focused on, you know, all the negativity that was happening. You
Yeah.
know, we've been watching, you know, like award shows between the Emmys and MTV and seeing how they've kind of executed things. And I think everybody's doing a good job of it, you know, and making it not feel drastically different, but to a level of acceptance that works for everybody. And yeah, you know, members of my team have been out of state and attending drive-in concerts and coming back with feedback. You know, so yeah, we've definitely been out, you know, out there and watching what everybody's doing. It's pretty fun actually to see just how everybody's trying to be innovative during these times.
Yeah. And are there any sort of projects that you guys have got coming up later this year that you can talk about, or is there is it
Yeah,
all kind of under wraps at the moment?
no, I mean, I think that we're just working on one that's really exciting and fun right now. And I mean, I post little sneak peeks of it, but you know, without disclosing like everything of the athletes, but like we're working on this cool series with TikTok. You know, it's kind of a play on the unboxing, you know, series on YouTube where you know, people are unpackaging things on camera that my kids are so obsessed with. We're kind of doing that where, you know, we have like a box truck that's going to be delivered to different athletes, and they get to essentially like open it up and see all these custom features in there that they can kind of use to make a DIY little course and film their own video parts. So we're
That's
pretty
cool.
excited about that. It sounds like, I mean, I've been talking to the guys, they've been out in the field doing this, and nothing's pre-planned. They're just like going with what the athletes want to do. And there's just been some pretty fun stuff in there. So I'm looking forward to that rolling out, later this month. And it'll be rolling out through December. So it's pretty cool.
Nice one. Good stuff. And if you had like one bit of advice for somebody that would be looking to get into the action sports industry at the moment, what would that be?
Oh man. I was listening to Cote talk about this, and he had some totally fair points in that, as he was talking about how protected it is. And it was interesting to hear him talk about it from, his point of view. I think, for me, obviously I got in via a different route than most people. I think a lot of what I see is, opportunities to intern. I know a lot of my friends that are within the industry and have made their way. Maybe they started at TransWorld and they've made their way to some of the brands and are literally managing athletes and stuff for the brands. They all started out as interns, and unfortunately, working for free to a certain extent to earn their keep.
Yeah.
But I think it's just about being really, first and foremost, passionate about, the space. It helps to obviously be a participant in the space, and kind of just navigating your way, around to people who are gonna, help support you and help you figure out, your way into it, because it might not always be what you think it is. Like, just because, you're graduating college and you're majoring in marketing or something, that's necessarily your path in. And I'm, testimony to that. Like, it doesn't always pan out. You get in and you're going to learn a lot. And the more you want to absorb and learn, the, more opportunity that's going to open up. So I guess that would be my advice. And I've looked back on myself and remember there not being as cool of opportunities as there are today when I graduated college. And so I try to proactively create those opportunities for people, and some of them, just reach out, to me on a whim and email me and ask how to get involved. Or I have friends who, just get burnt out on working at their local skate and surf shop and are ready for something different. So I'll have them come work an event and expose them to all the different facets of what it is, so that it opens their mindset about what's possible.
Yeah.
So
nice. No, that's great. And looking to the future, I mean, and specifically events, I mean, do you sort of see that there'll be this kind of hybrid model of online and the actual physical event going forwards?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, it's so hard to predict for sure, but I got to imagine for, a while that there is going to be that, hybrid model. And, I think for 2021, for sure, I think that's the way we're thinking of it. And, and I think that's okay, to be honest with you. And Dew Tour is really built for that, where, a lot of people think we're just, 2 events and that's it. But we have we're a brand, and we have an always on content strategy. So, the digital and social aspect of it for Dew Tour as a brand has always been important. And something, that we know that drives a lot of our views, because not everybody can attend our events in person. So we want to be as inclusive as possible. So yes, I definitely think that hybrid model is going to exist into the future, and we're planning for it, being a little bit, more skewed towards digital than it has been in the past in terms of throughout the year.
Yeah. And obviously with social, that's going to be a massive driver for it as well. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way everybody's consuming content right now, Yeah. And, that's what's great about Dew Tour is we have a very, democratized approach to everything, to all of our content that we distribute. So it's not, we want to make sure that anybody who wants to watch it can watch it and for free. So yes, we heavily rely on social to share out what we're doing, to amplify our event, to make, our live streams available. So that's always going to be important to us. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. And what's the best way of people to follow? If they want to follow what Dutour are up to, or if they want to get in contact with yourself.
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. So if you just search my name, I should be the only Courtney Gresik that pops up. And yeah, happy to have conversation. And as far as Dutour, Dutour.com. We're across social channels. The handle's @Dutour. So we should be easy to find. We've made our way into TikTok. So we're exploring that space, which has been fun. So yeah, just Google Dutour, you will find us.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Courtney. Appreciate your time. And yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on what's going on. And in particular with the TikTok unboxing project. Sounds pretty funny. So yeah, really cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. Ciao.